Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be creating in today's video. This fun holiday window illustration with lots of fun lights and details. It's not as hard as it looks, I promise. I will walk you through it step by step. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so that's linked in the description below if you want to check that out. If you join over there, you get access to exclusive tutorials every month, along with sneak peeks of what we're drawing here on YouTube. And if you join now, you get access to all of the tutorials that I've posted thus far, including last year's winter holiday season. So we have some holiday drawings from that ready to go for you. So here are some examples of what we've done over there. And again, that's linked in the description below. But before we get started on today's video, the only thing you'll need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just save the file to your iPad and then double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. And then I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we'll get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with today, so let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to set our background color first, which is our first color on the first row. The ones next to it will be like some shadows and highlights later on after we get our window in place. Then we have all of our window colors and then all of our other colors. But let's just first set our background. So on our layer menu, click on this background color layer at the bottom and select the first color on the first row to fill it in with this kind of cranberry color. Then on our layer menu, just make sure we're on layer 1 here, and we will go ahead and get started on our window right away. So we're just going to grab our fourth color on the top row now. We're going to be on our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. For the brush, I'll have my opacity at 100. Size, let's start at like 30%. And we're going to start with a perfect circle. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a good circle shape. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. A good kind of medium size like this. Then I'm just going to go ahead and fill it in. And now we can resize it and move it around if we need to. So with our arrow tool, select it. And then on uniform, if we need to resize it at all, we can. But again, a good medium size. I'm going to also make sure snapping is turned on in the bottom left. Snap it to the center of the screen where our vertical yellow line is and then up towards the top a bit. And we want room for like some stars on the side hanging. So I think this is a pretty good size. Okay, now we're going to make room for our arch. So we're going to be on our circle layer still. Grab our selection tool, set it to rectangle and make sure color fill is turned off. And we're going to remove the bottom part of our circle. So I'm going to start way outside to the bottom left and go across, and then maybe this is like about halfway from top to bottom on our circle. I'm going to go a little bit above that. So select up to a little bit above our halfway point, maybe out there, and this will be the arch, what's left here. So I'm going to let that go to select that bottom part, grab it with my arrow tool and drag it off the canvas. Arrow tool again, and then this is what we're left with. I might make it a little bit bigger on uniform and then recenter it. So do that if you wish to. But again, we'll have a few stars hanging on the side, but we want our window to be the main part of our canvas. So good size, like so. Again, recentered, gap at the top. Okay, now we'll make the rest of the window the rectangular part. So on our layer menu, let's just add a new layer. Grab our selection tool again. Rectangle's already turned on. Let's turn on color fill. And then we're just going to make a rectangle. We're going to resize it to match it. But I'm going to start roughly where the corner of the circle is here and draw a good rectangle shape a little ways from the bottom. Maybe it's like almost like a square. That's what mine's kind of looking like. But we want room on the bottom for our shelf. So maybe something like that. Let it go to let it fill in. Grab it with your arrow tool and then we can resize it either on uniform or freeform, whichever works. I'm just going to zoom in on the corner here and kind of line it up with our circle. So just line up those two corners there, make sure there's no gap. So overlap them a little if you need to. So that one's perfectly lined up. Then I'm going to go to the other side, the other corner, and I'm going to increase or decrease the rectangle until it kind of snaps there or as close as you can get it to that corner there. So then it should look something like this. We are good to go. That's a good shape. And it's okay if it's not totally smooth. I kind of like it how it kind of breaks there. So that's our good arch shape there. Let's go to our layer menu and just snap those together onto the same layer. So now we have our big arch shape. And then if you still need to resize it, you can, but this looks good. Let's just go ahead and make the shelf before we do anything else. So on our layer menu, let's go ahead and add another new layer on top of our arched window layer. Grab our selection tool with rectangle and color fill still turned on, same color as before, and we're going to make the lip of the shelf in front. So it's going to be a longer, skinny rectangle towards the bottom of our canvas. So I'm going to go out a ways from the bottom corner of my window, draw across, make a good sized rectangle, nice and skinny. Let that go to fill it in, arrow tool, and we again want to center it, resize it if you need to, but center it, and then kind of place it here. And then we're going to make the shelf by making a line connecting this corner to this corner. So this part in the middle will be the shelf. So nothing too big, nothing too small, but a good size, maybe about like this. Okay, now we'll make the top of the shelf part. So on our layer menu, add a new layer and drag it below the 2 layers that we have so far. Let's go ahead and grab the 7th color on the top row and our monoline brush, same settings as before, and we're going to do the connections. So we're underneath of both of these layers, so we're just going to draw a line from here to here and hold it down. So from one corner to the next, hold it down until it turns perfectly straight. And then you can click this edit line button at the top to adjust it to just make sure it meets up there nicely, like so. Same thing on the other side. Straight line, hold it down, adjust it if you need to, but that one turned out pretty good. And then we need to connect it so that we can fill it in. So I'm going to connect it across the top. So I'm going to draw another line, hold it down until it turns nice and straight so there's no gap. Same thing across the bottom, underneath our other piece, hold it down, line to line. So now we should have a full shape that we can fill in, like so. And that's the top of our shelf. So we're going to have our candlesticks and our books on it. So it needs to be a good size like this. Awesome. Good start. Let's go ahead and make the rest of the inside of our window now. So on our layer menu, I'm going to go to my arched layer and make a duplicate of it. So slide to the left and hit duplicate, be on the top one, and we're going to change the color of it. So click on it and turn on alpha lock. Grab our first bluish color on the 2nd row and go back to our layer menu, click on this layer and click fill layer. So it'll change the whole layer there to this bluish color. Grab it with our arrow tool on freeform, and I'm going to downsize it a bit, and then continue to recenter it with our previous layer, our previous arched layer. So it should be like on a blue or yellow vertical line and then a blue horizontal line. It'll snap to those to center them there, like so. So when we resize it, as you can see, it's like thicker on the top and bottom than on the side. So that's why we have it on freeform. So I'm going to make it skinnier from side to side and then recenter it until we get like a good even edge all the way around. Nice and thick is good. So I might downsize the whole thing a little bit more. Good thick window. But just keep resizing and recentering until you like the way that it looks. I think that looks good. So this is going to be our snowy scene behind our window. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish the snowy scene part. So on the same layer with alpha lock turned on, we're going to do a little bit of like shadows and then our snow. So on our color palette, we have a lighter and darker version of this base color. So let's go ahead and grab the lighter one first, 2nd one on the 2nd row. And then we're going to switch our brush to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. So find that. I'll have my opacity at 100, my size at maybe 10. And I'm just going to go towards the middle with this. So I'll kind of start in the middle and just kind of make a little bit of a lighter color there. Like so, nothing too crazy. Then I'll switch to my darker color 3rd one on the 2nd row and focus on the edges now to kind of darken those up. But it'll mostly be covered up. We just want a little bit of variation going on in the background is all. So just do a little bit of that so we got some good variation. Now we'll make our snow, so we'll do that on a separate layer. So on our layer menu, add a new layer above this blue arch, click on it and set it to a clipping mask. So we draw within the arch shape. And then we're going to grab our next color in line, 4th one on the 2nd row to make our snow. We're going to switch our brush to the driven snow brush under the elements category. So find that. I have my opacity actually at 70, and then my size I have at like 30. And we'll go through and make some good snow here in the background. So just one good layer of that. And then I want to make it like a little bit blurry too. It's a little too perfect, like from how far away we're seeing it maybe. So we're going to blur it a little bit. So go to our wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll drag this up a little bit to maybe like 3 to 5% is all. And that looks good for our snow. So that's it for most of the background part behind our window. So now we're going to draw the panes, and then we can make like the frost and the snow around where the panes are. So to do that, we'll go to our layer menu, add a new layer above our snow layer, click on it and set it to a clipping mask also, so that we're also clipped to our blue layer. And then we will go back to our rectangle making. So we'll go back to our fourth color on the top row, grab our selection tool with rectangle and color fill turned on, and we'll start making some arches. Or some panes. So I'm going to make the first one right where it splits from the arch to the like vertical line here. I'm going to start right about there and go across the whole way, make a nice, good, thick pane, like roughly a similar size to the edge of our window, like so. You can turn the selection tool off to look at it, turn it back on, and now I'll go about halfway from top to bottom and make another one roughly the same size. If you ever need to make it wider, you can just kind of go over it again and extend it just a little bit. If you need to make it smaller, though, you'll have to go back and redo it. Okay, that looks good there. We are going to now actually turn on symmetry for the rest. So those ones were good, but now I want to make symmetrical on the left and right side. So we're going to turn symmetry on. And we're actually going to do that on another new layer. So our new layer is going to be below the one that we just created. These panes are going to be above our next panes. So I'm going to go back to my snow layer and add a layer right above it, and it'll automatically set itself to a clipping mask in between those two layers. So that's the layer we're on. We're going to stay on our same color, but turn symmetry on. So we're going to go to the gear icon. Under Canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide. Click Edit Drawing Guide, set it to symmetry, and you should see a vertical line here. If you don't, you can click vertical under the options here and then click done. And then most importantly, make sure that this layer now says assisted on it on our layer menu. It should. If it doesn't, just click on it and turn on drawing assist. And we're going to switch back to our monoline brush at 30%. Okay, and first we are going to make some vertical lines. So I'm going to go a little ways from my symmetry line. I'm going to draw on the right side, starting at the bottom. Off of our blue area here, we're going to kind of try to split this into thirds. So a little way from our halfway point, which is our symmetry line. I'm going to start there, go straight up past my top vertical, or past my top horizontal line here. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly vertical. And then we're going to go a little ways away from that and do the same thing. So this will be the thickness of our pane. Again, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, try to end it at roughly the same point. You can click your edit line button if you need to, but only to move it around. Don't touch the blue dots to move it. It'll mess up the vertical angle, but you can just drag around if you need to drag it left or right, drag it up or down a little bit, as long as we're still going off the bottom there. But about like that looks good. And then we're going to connect in the middle with a curved line. So I'm going to start on this right line and I'm going to curve up towards the middle, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Click the arc button at the top to adjust it. And we just kind of want to mirror the arch shape that we have. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit. But again, just kind of like it should be like roughly even from here to here and from here to here. So bring the whole thing down, curve it a little more if you need to, anything like that. This will mostly be covered up by the wreath, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but a good something like this. I'll go back to my pen tool once I'm happy with that, and I'll connect the bottom one, same way, nice curve, hold it down, adjust it if you need to. Something like that. Okay, so that looks good. It's not all connected. We still need to connect it across the bottom here. So it's connected all the way through except on the bottom here. So I'm going to just draw a quick line there. It mirrors on the other side. So now we should have a shape that we can fill in. Okay, and then we're going to just make a few pieces in this top area. So I'm going to start right in the middle here. I'm going to go a little ways from my symmetry line, draw a straight vertical line, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen, click the line button if you need to move it. Again, it's roughly the same thickness that we've been doing this whole time. Okay, I'm going to connect that across the top, fill it in, and then we'll do one on each side as well. So I'm going to draw a line this way, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen, and find a good angle to use. I'm probably going to use maybe this angle, I think. So I am 3 from horizontal. So this is horizontal. I'm up 1, 2, 3. I'm going to use that angle. Move the line around if you need to. We're kind of splitting this other area here. And then make another line, same angle. So hold it down, touch your finger on the screen till it matches that same angle. Connect it at the top, fill it in. So now we should have more panes like this. Okay, so then that's it for our panes. So now we can make the snow mounds in the background and start adding some more details. So let's do the kind of frost and snow mounds in the background. So on our layer menu, I'm going to add a layer right above our snow layer again. It'll clip itself to our base blue arch layer underneath our other pane layers. That's where we want to be. And then we'll grab our fourth color on the second row. And then we're going to switch our brush to the to be compressed charcoal brush under the charcoals category, which we're going to use quite a bit today. So find that. My opacity for the brush is at 100. My size, let's do maybe 5%. And I'm going to start and just kind of pick a few little places to make some frost. So I'm just going to kind of go through, make a little kind of frosty areas through some of the edges of my window panes. You don't have to hit every pane. You don't have to hit every corner. Just kind of pick a few that you'd like to. Pretty randomly, nothing too heavy, so I'm not doing a ton, but just a little bit here and there. Maybe something like that. And then we're going to add some mounds of snow too. So same color, we're going to switch now to our dry ink brush under the inking category. So find that. I'll have my opacity at 100, size at like 10. And I'm just going to go through and kind of on like the horizontal pieces especially, I'm going to make some little kind of mounds of snow. So just a few little kind of snowy pieces here and there in the corners and stuff. Just some nice kind of bumpy little pieces. So yeah, kind of curving the corner where it kind of like, and then maybe just some wavy pieces as well. Even if there's frost there, you can just kind of go over that. Make it nice and thick. Maybe even some like up here a little bit where it would pile up. And then especially some at the bottom here as well. Okay, so that's the snow in our window on the windowsills. So with that done, that's it for like the main background part. So that looks great. So now we can kind of focus on all the other stuff that we've drawn so far, all of our other window pieces. We're going to add some texture and highlights and shadows to them as well. So let's just go ahead and start with our panes here that we've drawn. So I'm going to start with my top pane layer, and I'm going to click on it and turn on alpha lock. And drawing assist is not turned on. That's okay. We don't need it to be so. But that's the layer that we're on, the one with just the 2 horizontal pieces. The base color we used for that was the 4th one on the top row. So we have 2 darker and 2 lighter colors to play with here. So let's start with the first darker one, the 5th one on the top row. We're going to go back to our charcoal brush again, the to be compressed under the charcoals category. And with this slightly darker one, so this is kind of like a shadow slash texture color. So I'm just going to go kind of like towards the bottom parts of our window panes here, all the way across, maybe like halfway through towards the bottom. And then on the edge as well, where it meets up with our main window arch there. So something like that. So again, like bottom half-ish, and then towards the edges. Like so. Okay, we'll grab our darkest color now, a 6th one on the top row, and we'll just kind of deepen these up just a little bit, just kind of on the very like edges, very lowest part. If you need to adjust your size at all, go ahead and do so. It doesn't even have to be all the way across, just kind of a few places there to kind of just adjust it a little bit to be a little bit darker. But again, just to kind of add some all over texture and dimension. So that's it for my darker colors. Pretty simple there. We'll move on to our lighter ones now. So next one in line, 7th one on the top row. And this will be our kind of highlight color. So I'll do it mostly towards the top half. Add some good texture there, just kind of anywhere where we didn't put our darker colors. So that on both, simple. Next is our lightest color, the 8th one on the top row, and then we'll touch just the top of the panes with that just a little bit here and there. Beautiful. Now we're just going to kind of do that same thing for everything. So our next one up is the one below it here with our like vertical panes and our little branching off pieces on the top. So we'll click on that layer and turn on alpha lock. We can leave drawing assist on so that we don't have to do it to both sides. So we'll just go back to our first darker color, 5th one on the top row. And again, we'll kind of focus on like the lower areas here. So I'm going to do like the lower part of the curve here. And then maybe we'll do like the inner parts of these pieces here, something kind of like that. And then I guess maybe we'll just do like the inner parts of the vertical pieces and then close to the bottom as well. So maybe something like that will do. Then I'll switch to my darker color still, the 6th one on the top row. We'll deepen up some of the shadows there, but nothing too crazy. And again, you only have to do it on the one side. And then we'll do our lighter colors. So 7th one on the top row, we'll hit like the edges or the top edges, anything that we haven't really hit yet. Okay. And then our lightest color, 8th one on the top row, to again, just touch those edges a little bit more. Again, just on the one side, and then it mirrors on the other. So some good texture, some good variation. Looks good. Next layer, we're going to actually go down to our main arch layer. We're going to do that one next. So click on that one, turn on alpha lock, and we'll do a similar thing. So we'll have light on the inner edges and then shadows on the outer edges. So let's start with our first shadowy color, 5th one on the top row. And again, drawing assist isn't turned on, so we'll just do the whole thing, which can be tedious, but it also helps it to not be like perfectly symmetrical. So I think that's okay. But I'm just doing like roughly halfway and then towards the outside edge. Mainly just for some all over texture, a little bit of a start to a shadow. Okay, then our darker color still, 6th one on the top row, and we'll do just the very edge. Here and there. Towards the bottom here especially, I want to make a nice good shadow where it meets the shelf. So that's nice and good there. Okay. And then we'll switch to our highlighty colors. So 7th one on the top row, we'll do like halfway through towards the inside, pretty lightly. And then our lightest color, 8th one on the top row, to just add some light here and there on the very inner edge. Okay, that is it for the window. So that looks awesome. That's what we're going to kind of do here and there to all of our pieces. So very good start there. Looks very nice. Next up, let's move on to our shelf here. So let's move on to just our top main shelf layer, like the kind of angled rectangle. It's going to be our bottommost layer. I'm going to click on that one, turn on alpha lock. That one was actually done with our lightest or second lightest color, the 7th one on the top row. So let's just add some all of our texture actually with the lightest color here. And we're just going to do one quick layer of light texture. So I'm still on my last color on the top row, 8th in line. I'll increase my size maybe a little bit to like 10% so that I can just do a quick all over texture. Nothing crazy. We're going to add some shadows when we have our pieces in place, but just to add some initial texture, that's what we're going to do. But we want it to all be lighter than our other ones because like the light's hitting it from the top. So that looks good there. We'll go up to our little tiny rectangle in the front, which is our top layer. Click on it and turn on alpha lock. And that one was with our normal base color, just like the rest of our window was. I'm going to do some shadows and highlights. So let's grab our Fifth color on the top row, same brush, we'll lower our size back down to like 3 or 4%. And I'm just going to do like the bottom half all the way across. Maybe even like the bottom 2/3 because this one's nice and shadowed. Then I'll grab my darker color, sixth one on the top row, and go even closer to the bottom. Get a nice shadow there. And then we'll do our seventh color on the top row, but we won't do our lightest one. Just our seventh one, and we'll just do a little bit of that towards the top, but nothing crazy. We want to still see that good like distinction between our front rectangle and then the angled one. So boom, that's it for all of our window pieces already. Not too bad. We really even don't have that much to go. We have our wreath and our bow, we have our books and our candles, and then our stars, and then we'll finish off the background. So nothing too crazy. Let's go ahead and make our wreath next. So we're going to make the whole wreath and then we will add our bow. So on our layer menu, let's go ahead and add a layer to the very top of all of our layers and grab our first green color, the first one on the bottom row, the darkest one. We're going to start with that. We're going to switch again to our dry ink brush under the inking category. And again, opacity 100, size at 10%. And you can adjust the size depending on how hard you push. It's pressure sensitive. So if you push really light, you might want to increase your size. But if you push like really, really hard, that might be totally good, or you might want to lower your size a little bit. But we want some good thick branches coming off, so I think 10% is a good size. But I'm going to start my wreath essentially kind of right where this inner arch is here, my pane arch. And I'm going to do a good perfect circle to start. So circle shape, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Make a nice good circle. I probably want it to be bigger, so I'm just going to grab it with my arrow tool. And on uniform, I'm going to make the whole thing a bit bigger. And again, kind of center it on our center yellow line and place that part at the kind of at where this arch window pane is. But I want it to be pretty big. My bottom's going to go a little bit over my bottom window pane rectangle there. My sides aren't quite touching the side though, so nothing too huge. Just kind of pick a good size that works for you. I think that looks good. Then we're going to pick a direction to go. I'm going to go, what is this, counterclockwise, I think is what I'm going to do, but whatever kind of works for you. But that's kind of just the direction of our like pine needles. So with the same darker color, same brush, same layer, I'm just going to go through, I'm going to pick a point to start, and I'm just going to kind of go like this all the way down. So this is what I mean by counterclockwise. So I'm going this way, but you can totally go the other way too, but we don't want to mix directions. So pick one direction to go and go that way the whole time. If it's easier to, you can just do like the outside first like this and then go through and do the inside, and they can be very sporadic. I want them nice and long, and I'm doing like a few layers. So nice and long, nice and messy, but just always going in that same direction. And we'll eventually get this like middle line to kind of be covered up and you won't even really see it. But yeah, so some I poke kind of out at the angle, and then some I almost go even like straight just in the middle area to kind of, again, get some good variety of like the direction of our pine needles. Yeah, so this is how it's looking so far. I'm going to keep turning my canvas as I go. That's helpful to me. And this one is the most important to get a good thick base. So the next two colors that we do, we're going to do two lighter greens on top of this. We won't have to do them as thick, but we want a good thick base with this darker color to work off of. So this one's going to take the most time and just kind of the most work. Okay, so like this is the start of it. I might go through again and just kind of do like some more layering to it. Make it nice and thick. But we still want to obviously see some of the branches. And maybe you just have some areas that need to be touched up. Some that maybe that you did better. So whatever kind of works to make it look nice and pretty. Okay, so boom, a lot of good brush strokes there. I think that's a really good base to start with. So pause the video and continue on if you need to. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on going. So same layer, same brush. I'm just going to switch my color to the second one on the bottom row. And there's 4 greens actually, so we'll use the second one next. And this time I'm just going to kind of start in the middle, kind of at that same spot that I did before, but I'm just going to essentially do the same exact thing without the initial circle to start, but just kind of going in that same direction, layering on top. Some of them can go on top of our dark green, some can go outside of our dark green. So like if some of yours extend further, that's fine. Otherwise, we just want a good kind of light layer of this on top to add some dimension. I didn't turn my canvas this time, which was kind of difficult, but uh, turn yours if you need to. But a good light layer of that color. Then we'll do our next one, third one on the bottom row. Same thing. Now we can really see some good kind of highlighting and dimension going on. Okay, and then one more green, fourth one on the bottom row. And we'll just do a little bit of this. I'm not going to do a ton. The lightest by far, so I'm just kind of going every other, like just left, right, not all the way around, not quite as much. Okay, and that is our wreath to start. We'll do our bow and our lights as well. So that looks really good though. If you need to like move it or resize it, you can grab it with your arrow tool and resize the whole thing or move it around, anything like that, but that looks good for me. I'm going to go ahead and add the bow now. So layer menu, new layer at the top. So I'm actually going to grab one of the darker red colors. I'm going to grab the 4th one in this little group here. So it's the 8th one on the 2nd row. And our monoline brush still at 30%. I'm going to start right at the top of the wreath here, right kind of on the symmetry line to help me. Symmetry is not active, but I'll use the line. Okay, so we're going to do some really skinny like teardrop shapes to be the top part of our bow, like the inner part where it loops in. So right on the symmetry line, I'm going to start and I'm going to do a really skinny like kind of teardrop shape. Same thing the other way. They don't have to be perfectly the same. So that looks good. It's maybe a little small. I might want the whole thing to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start again into a bigger one, but nice and skinny still. Okay, that looks good to start. So then we'll have the knot in the middle, and then we're going to make the rest of the bow pieces like the front part that we see, the thicker part. So to do that, we're going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer right below the one that we were just on, and grab our base red color now, the 5th one on the 2nd row. And then for each side now, I'm going to start at the very edge, and I'm going to make like a slightly rounded line. And then it will kind of connect back to the center. So rounded kind of line, connect back to the center, something like that. Connect those at the top so that you can fill them in like this. That's the next part of our bow shape. Make those a little longer if you need to. They should be pretty big. Smooth it out. Okay, that looks good. Okay, on the same layer, we're going to make our little ribbon legs. So the last layer that we make is going to be our little knot in the middle here. So it'll cover up this whole little middle area. But connected to this is going to be our little leg pieces or the ends of our ribbons. So I'm going to start on the left side here, like kind of right on the symmetry line, really. And I'm going to kind of curve out and down, come to like a little point at the bottom and curve back up. Fill that in. Adjust that if you need to, make it bigger, make it smaller. Make it longer, anything like that. I think that looks good. Do the same thing going the other way. Fill that in. So something like that for our little ribbon ends. Okay, then we just need our knot in the middle. So layer menu, let's go ahead and add a layer above all the layers we have so far. Grab our second red color in the group here, the sixth one on the second row, and we'll make just kind of a rounded square. So I'm just going to start kind of right here on my next to my symmetry line. I'm going to kind of round this way, round on the other side, round it on the top, round it on the bottom, fill that in. That is the middle of our bow. So adjust that if you need to, but that looks pretty good to me. Might make it a little smaller. Make sure it still kind of covers up that whole little area there. Okay, awesome. Now we'll add like some highlights and stuff to it. If you need to like change the whole size of it, you can. I might grab all 3 layers. So select one, slide right on the other 2. Grab it with your arrow tool on uniform or freeform, and you can like resize the whole thing. I might make the whole thing a little bit bigger and place it back in the middle at the top here, like so. That looks good. So now I'm ready to recolor and add highlights and shadows. So let's just be on our top knot layer and click on it and turn on alpha lock. So that one was with this second color in our red section here. So I'm going to go to the lightest one now right next to it, 7th one on the second row, back to our charcoal brush. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a highlight right in the center. So just kind of all over texture, but really nicely in the center there. That's all we're going to do for that. Next layer is our darker red pieces at the top. Click on that layer, turn on alpha lock. That was with our second to last color here, so I'm going to use my last color, 9th in line, the darkest one. And again, just kind of add some texture in the middle there. With that is all the way across. Layer menu, next layer is our main bow layer. Click on that and turn on alpha lock, and we'll add some highlights and shadows now. So we have our base red color, we have the 2 lighter, the 2 darker. I'm going to start with the second one in our group here, 6th one on the second row, and add this lighter color to the top edge of these parts of the ribbon on the left and right side. Then I might add it to like the tails, like the ends of the tails, like so. Okay, then let's grab our lightest color and add just the teeniest little bit of that to the very tip of the bow at the top. Maybe the littlest bit towards the ends. Nothing crazy. Then we'll grab the first of our darker colors, the 8th one on the second row, and we'll add a little bit of a shadow like towards the knot and towards the bottom of these pieces. And then maybe towards the knot again on our tails, like so. Darkest color still, last one on the second row. And again, just deepen up the shadow a little bit towards the bottom of the bow pieces and towards the knot on our tails. And that is it for all of our highlights and shadows for our bow. So that is it for that. Pretty simple, nice and beautiful, kind of finishes off our wreath nicely there at the top. Lastly, we'll just add some lights to it. So on our layer menu, let's go ahead and just snap those bow layers together if you're happy with them. And then add a new layer above that for our lights. So then our lights we're going to make with this second of our yellow colors, so 6th one on the bottom row. We're going to switch our brush to the luminance brush under the, the light pen brush under the luminance category. I have my size and opacity both at 100%. And we're just going to go through here and make some little lights. So if you just kind of touch on your canvas, you'll get a tiny little light to pop up. If you touch and kind of hold and push a little harder, you'll kind of get some brighter lights. So that's kind of what we're going for, but varying sizes. So I'm doing some really small ones, pushing harder and rounding a little bit more for some bigger ones, but kind of a good variety. As long as they're nice and bright, it kind of like the brush kind of stutters sometimes and makes some really like pale ones. So I'm just kind of going through all the way around, spacing them fairly evenly. Again, kind of variety of some bigger and some smaller, but do what you can to get some good lights going through it. Very, very just cute, minimalist lights. Go back through and brighten some up if you need to, just by going over them again. And then that is it for our whole wreath. That is done. That looks beautiful. So, a lot of our picture done already. We just need our candles, our books, and our stars. So, let's go ahead and make our candles next. So, on our layer menu, let's add a new layer to our layer menu at the very top. And we'll go ahead and make our candlesticks. So, that's going to be with these are all of our like gold candlestick colors at the bottom here. So, this will be for our candlesticks and our stars. So, let's start with the gold, the first gold color, the fifth one on the bottom row. Switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. And we're going to start with a nice oval base. So I'm going to start with at 30% here. We're going to do a little perfectly horizontal oval. So I'm going to do a nice little oval shape like this. Hold it down until it turns nice and smooth, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. So it'll snap to these different angles. We want the horizontal angle nice and small. If it turns into a circle, you just drew it too close to a circle, so redo it as more of like an oval shape, and you should be able to snap it to this horizontal angle. And then don't click the ellipse button at the top because you'll mess up the angle, but I'm going to grab my arrow tool at the top. Then we can resize it on uniform or freeform if we want to make it like skinnier from top to bottom. So I did freeform. So that's like the top of our candlestick, just a nice little tiny oval there. Go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this layer now. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab the bottom one. Arrow tool, I'm going to move it straight down. And I'm going to make it a little bit wider as well. And I want to kind of line it up with the other one if possible in the center. So you should see a blue line that kind of lines them up. But nothing too tall. This will be the height of our candlestick, and we can move the whole thing around in a minute if we need to. But this will be the height of it. I'm going to go ahead and fill this bottom one in. On the same layer as our bottom one, I'm going to kind of connect to our top one. So from one side, I'm going to kind of round up, connect to the top one. Same thing on the other side. So just kind of a curved line to connect them. I'm going to connect them across the back, across the top there, and fill it in. So now I should have two layers. I have like the base layer and then my top ring layer. Okay, make any adjustments to that if you need to with your eraser or your pen. They don't have to be perfect, they're pretty small. Okay, lastly though, we're gonna switch our top ring layer to a slightly lighter color. So click on that ring layer and turn on alpha lock, grab our next color in line, sixth one on the bottom row, and go back to our layer menu and click on this layer and click fill layer so it's slightly lighter and we can kind of see that a little bit better. Okay, now on our layer menu, go back to our other layer and turn alpha lock on. And now we'll make some kind of changes and make it look like a little glossier and add some shadows and stuff. We're on our main candlestick layer, alpha lock's on. This was the base color. We have two lighter and a darker, and then this other one is for the really, really glossy part. So let's go to our slightly lighter color that we just used to fill in our ring. So the sixth one on the bottom row, and our charcoal brush again under the charcoals category, the to be compressed. Size pretty low at like 3%. And this is our first kind of highlight color. So I'm going to go like kind of around the bottom with this mainly, and then maybe along like one side. Maybe I'll do like the right side. Then I'll switch to my lighter color still, the seventh one on the bottom row, and I'll kind of just touch that on the edges even, make it a little bit brighter still. And then I'll go to my darker color, eighth one on the bottom row, and I'll do that like around my rim and inside. And then maybe on the left side, since we did the other one in highlight, I'll do a little bit of that there. Then I'm going to grab my lightest color, still ninth one on the bottom row, lower my size even to like 2%, and we're going to make some really, really bright patches, like a little one there, and maybe a little one down here, just to kind of make it look like it's kind of golden and it's kind of shiny. Then we're going to go to our ring layer and do kind of the same thing. So this was already with our almost lightest color. So I'm just going to go back in with my second lightest color, the seventh one on the bottom row, and just use that kind of all over for some texture. Nothing crazy. And then I'll use my lightest color, ninth one on the bottom row, and just kind of touch like maybe the front edge of it or something, just a little bit here and there to get some extra shine on it. So now it looks something like that. That's my candlestick. Okay, we're gonna make the candle and then we're gonna duplicate it for the others so that we don't have to do this multiple times. So that's our candlestick. If you're happy with it, I'm going to go ahead and go to my layer menu and snap those two layers together. Add a new layer above it, and this will be where we make our candle, which is going to be with this third color of our yellows here. So the seventh one on the bottom row. Back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab, and we're going to make a very, very vertical oval. So very, very skinny vertical oval. So I'm going to start up a little ways and make a good vertical oval. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly vertical. Nice good size like this. Again, don't mess with the ellipse button at the top. Just go ahead and fill it in, and then we can move it around and resize it if we need to. So grab it with your arrow tool on freeform if you want to make any initial changes to the size of it, tall, widthwise, or height-wise, and then kind of center it here with our candlestick. Make sure the bottom of it's just kind of resting right in this like darker oval in the middle there. Then we're going to switch to warp, and we are going to kind of fix the shape of it now. So we want the bottom to be a little thicker, so I'm going to grab this bottom left corner, drag it kind of down and out a little bit, bottom right corner down and out a little bit, and then we'll make the top part a little skinnier as well. So I'll drag this top left corner in, top right corner in. So I'm going to get a good shape like this. So that looks awesome for our candlestick. So adjust it any further if you'd like to, but I think that looks good. So we just need the flame on top. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, add a layer below all my candle layers so far. Grab my darkest color, last one on the last row, 10th in line, and back to our dry ink brush. And we're just going to make a tiny little just wick at the top here, nothing too crazy. Then our layer menu, add a new layer above all of our candlestick layers so far for our flame. So we're going to use the first of our yellow colors, the 5th one on the bottom row, and our light pen again under the luminance category, same settings as before, 100%, 100%. And I'm just going to make a little flame shape at the top of the wick here and kind of fill it in. It'll be very, very bright. We're going to lower the opacity in a second, but get a good flame shape going like so. Layer menu, click the N on this layer, drag the opacity down a little bit to maybe like 85% or so. And we can adjust it again later, but we're going to add a little bit of a glow to it so it'll brighten up a smidge further than it is right now, but we'll leave it there for now. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and snap our bottom 3 candle layers together, so not our flame. We'll leave that one separate just in case we need to come back and adjust it. So I'm going to put them in a group though. So I have my candlestick with my candle and my flame separately. So I'll select one side right on the other so they're both selected and then click group. Okay, then I'll just be on this group here. I'm going to minimize it with the arrow, then slide left and hit duplicate. Grab it with my arrow tool on uniform. I might downsize it a smidge and move it over here. And then if you need to resize or replace the other one, go ahead and do that as well. So I'm going to place it here. I'll grab the other group, move it around, place it maybe here. So I want them to be pretty close to each other over here, this one. And then we're going to have one on the left side. So I'll make another duplicate of my top group, which was a little smaller, and move it on over to the other side here, like so. So just place 3 there where you would like them. We have them in our groups here. We can adjust the flame later if we need to. I'm not sure if we'll need to or not. But those are all in place. Those look great. Let's go ahead and add our books now. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer. If you're running low on layers, we can snap some stuff together. So if you are running low, you can snap all of the layers that are clipped to your window together, like all the layers that are clipped to the blue arch layer. You can snap all those together if you're happy with them. And you can even snap them to your base window layer too if you're happy with that. You can snap those all together so you have your window here. I'm going to leave them separate just in case, but if you need to, you can absolutely do that. But I'm on my new layer at the top here. I'm going to grab my first red color again, the 5th one on the 2nd row. Selection tool with rectangle and color fill turned on, and this will be the spine of our red book. So a little ways from the edge of my shelf here, I'm going to make a nice skinny red rectangle like so. Then I'm going to go to my layer menu and add a new layer. Same red color, I'm going to be on my monoline brush again. And we're going to make like the end of the book that we're then going to connect with those lines. But we wanted to make it on a separate layer so that we can center them. So I'm just going to make a smaller line. So however long our rectangle is, I'm going to make a smaller line than that. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Grab it with your arrow tool. So we have a nice good horizontal line. I'm going to center them together. So you should see a blue line pop up when they're centered with each other. And wherever it ends is fine. I'm gonna have it end like maybe right where my windowsill starts, somewhere like that. Same layer, now I'm just gonna connect them with a angled line here like so on each side. So it's all the same color and we're gonna snap all of them together. So whatever works there. Okay. Go back to my layer menu, snap it with our rectangle below it so that's all on one layer and we can then fill this in. Then I want to round the edges just a little bit, the sides. So where we made our rectangle on the left side here, I'm going to make a slightly rounded out line. Hold it down, adjust it. Same thing on the other side. It's slightly rounded to show that the spine is a little round. Adjust that. Clean it up at all if you need to, any of the book, but that is our book. So that looks great. We're going to duplicate this now for our green one, and then we can do our shading and highlights. So that's our good book. Adjust the whole thing if you need to, like size-wise. I may make the whole thing a little bit bigger. Kind of place it here in this little middle-ish area. It's a little to the left because we only have the one candle on the left. But that looks good. Layer menu, make a duplicate of the red. Be on the top one, and we're going to fill it in green. Let's go ahead and just turn on alpha lock. So turn alpha lock on. We can always drag and drop, but sometimes that'll leave like a fuzzy edge where it's like a little bit red. We're going to turn alpha lock on to shade it anyway. So I like to just turn on alpha lock, then recolor it to our green. So the first one on the bottom row. Back to our layer menu, click fill layer. So with alpha lock turned on, it colors every single pixel compared to when you drag and drop, and it might leave a fuzzy edge. But anyway, now with our green one, I'm going to grab it with my arrow tool on uniform, downsize it a bit, and then place it up on the top here of our red book. So I want to leave a little bit of room so I can still see the edge of my spine and stuff. So a good gap there for our red book is fine. You can make the green book a little bit smaller if you'd like. Maybe something like that looks good. Okay, now let's go ahead and do our kind of shadows and highlights and stuff. So on our layer menu, we're on our green book. Let's just go ahead and stay on that. So alpha lock's turned on. We have our other green colors. So let's go ahead and start with the second one on the bottom row. And this is actually meant to be the base color for our book because we need a shadow color. So let's go back to our layer menu with this second color selected. Back to our layer menu, click on this layer, click fill layer. That looks great. Still on alpha lock, let's go ahead and grab our first color now on the bottom row, which is our shadow color. And switch back to our charcoal brush again. Let's see, our size, we'll do like 3%, pretty small. I'm going to do a good shadow here on the bottom edge of our spine, like so. Then we'll grab our next color, our lighter one, third one on the bottom row. We'll do that all over the cover, pretty lightly, maybe increase my size a little bit to like 5%. So all over the cover and a little bit of the top of the spine as well. So basically everything else that we didn't hit in shadow. Then we'll grab our lightest color still, the fourth one on the bottom row, size back down to like 3 or 2 even, and we're going to highlight the very top of the spine, so kind of straight across there, where like the top of the spine would be a good horizontal little line there. Really brighten that up. That looks good. Maybe I'll touch a little bit towards the window too, just a little bit to add a little bit of light there. That is our green book. Okay, now our red book, similar thing. So back to our red book layer, click on it and turn on alpha lock. And we do have 2 lighter and 2 darker, so we're good with our base color there. We're just going to grab our slightly lighter color, second of our reds, 6th one on the second row. Same charcoal brush at like 4 or 5%, and I'm going to go all over the book until we're in like halfway through the spine. So all over everything that we can see and then halfway through the spine. Okay, color palette, let's grab our, let's just jump to like our darkest red now, last one on the second row, 9th in line. And at like 3%, I'll just do the bottom of my book here, the bottom of the spine in shadow there. And then I'm also going to do a little bit of a shadow next to my green book. So drop my size even lower to maybe 2%, and I just want a little bit of a shadow right underneath my green book there. Where it would kind of cast a little bit of a shadow there. Awesome. Now we need a little bit of a highlight on our spine, so we'll grab our lightest color of our reds here, the 7th one on the 2nd row, and we'll highlight just the top of the spine, even lighter, just like we did on our green one. Okay, now we have a good variety of color there, good definition, and that looks great. So that is it for all the stuff on our shelf. Now we need some shadows to kind of help really place them there. So we're going to add onto our main shelf layers. So that's our very, very bottom layer. Alpha Lock's already turned on. And let's see, we actually used this lighter brown color as our base with a little bit of this as like a all over texture. So we have 3 kind of darker colors here. We'll probably skip our base color that we used on our other pieces and we'll just use these 2 darker ones. So I'm going to grab the 5th color on the top row to start and add a shadow around all of these with our same brush at like 3%. I'm going to go kind of around these towards the bottom in kind of an oval shape, around this towards the bottom in kind of an oval shape. If you're close to the edge and it's going off the edge, that's okay too. Okay, nice good shadow there. And then a shadow under our books here as well. So you don't have to like draw up here. Our books wouldn't cast a shadow there, but just on this like bottom side and maybe a little coming from like the edge. Okay. Good kind of wide shadow with this one. And then we'll switch to our darkest brown on the top row, 6th in line. Drop our size maybe to like 2%, and we'll do an even deeper shadow just right underneath them, very, very close to their base shape. Just deepen that up a little bit. So just kind of right where the bottom of this book is. Okay. And that really helps kind of place them on our book there, or on our shelf there, so that looks awesome. Now our last couple things will really bring the whole thing together, so our stars will add a little bit more light to everything, and yeah, and then we'll add kind of the rest of our background, so all we need is like some shadows and stuff. So let's continue on our layer menu. Let's add our stars to the very, very top of our layers. I'm going to click on this layer at the top and turn Drawing Assist on. And we're going to grab our last color on the last row again, the kind of blackish color. Switch back to our monoline brush at 30%, and we're going to make our 3 little star kind of hanging chords. So I'm going to make the first one like right next to my window here. I'm going to just draw a straight vertical line, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. And we want them to be, we want room for a star here. So right next to my window, a little star. Next one's going to be quite a bit longer. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Move it if you need to by clicking the edit line button, but don't adjust the line, but pretty close together here so we have room for a third if possible. So then one more kind of right here is good. So kind of in between. So shorter, longer, middle kind of. Okay, and then I'm going to make a new layer for the stars themselves. So layer menu, new layer, click on it and turn on Drawing Assist again so we can use Symmetry. And we'll grab our gold color, 5th one on the bottom row, same monoline brush, and we're going to make a star at the end of each of these. You can make the traditional star by doing like this whole thing and then holding it down. And then you can click the edit polyline and adjust them to kind of be a good star shape. Or you can do like the angles like this, which gives you a little bit more ability to adjust them and make them like kind of fatter stars, I guess, if you will. Like you can make these angles like shorter. So kind of whatever you want to do for each of them. Don't spend too much time making them too perfect looking. They can just be kind of however. Fill them in. Should be mirrored on the other side. We'll do that for each one. So whatever works. You might just want to kind of zoom out and make sure that they're all kind of similar in size. So I'll adjust this one to be a little bit bigger. Fill that in. Should look the same on the other one. And then one more. Right. Okay, now we have our 3 stars. Those look great. We're going to now add like some shine and stuff to them as well. So layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock, and we'll leave drawing assist on, and so we'll only have to do it once. And then we'll kind of do what we did with our candlesticks. So let's grab our second color on the bottom row. Sorry, our second of our yellows. So 6th one on the bottom row. Back to our to be compressed charcoal brush. And this is kind of like our highlight color. So I'm going to go like around the top and kind of middle. We'll do this pretty quick, nothing too crazy. Top and middle, top and middle. Color palette. Let's go ahead and just skip to our darkest color, the 4th one in this group, 8th one on the bottom row, and we'll add kind of like some shadow like on the bottom and bottoms of our arms. So bottoms of our arms, bottom of the star kind of thing. Okay, then we'll grab our lightest color, 9th one on the bottom row, and we'll just add a quick shine to a few spots, like towards the middle of each of them. So quick, just little section of this, like so, to make them look a little shinier. Now we're going to add a glow around them. So layer menu, make a duplicate of our stars layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab the bottom one, click on it and turn alpha lock off. Click the N on this layer and set it to add. And then we're going to click our wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll drag this up a little bit to get a nice kind of glow around them, like so. I'll do maybe 20%. That looks good. Okay, so now we have this nice glow layer, and this is where we're going to add a little bit more glow to our candles and maybe even our lights on our wreaths. So on our layer menu, we're going to click on this layer and turn off drawing assist, but we're just going to draw right on this layer. We're going to switch to our first gold color, the 5th one on the bottom row, and our soft brush this time under the airbrushing category. We'll keep that pretty low, like 5%. And I'm just going to very, very lightly kind of go right around each of my little candle flames there, kind of brighten those up and add like a little just circle of glow near them. Okay, then I might lower my size even more to like 2% and go like around each of these lights a little bit as well on our wreath. Just very lightly. If you need to lower your opacity, you can. But just a little circle around them. It makes them a little bit more yellow and just a little bit brighter, but it still keeps that initial like shape that we made of our actual light, but just kind of gives a glow off of them. So that looks beautiful. Lastly, we're just going to finish off the background. So if you need to adjust your flames, that's why we left them on a separate layer. So if you want to go back and open up these candles and click on your flame layer and like move the opacity up or down, you can. Maybe 70% maybe looks better. I think that looks better for all of them probably. So you can go ahead and do that as well. Kind of mess around with that. That looks beautiful. Lastly, our background. I'm going to add a layer right above our shelf layer on the bottom and then drag it below. So we're at the very, very bottom. And this is where our 2 colors on top come in after our main background color. And we're actually going to grab our lightest one first, so the 3rd one on the top row. And our soft brush will increase our size a bit to like maybe 15%. And this lighter color, we're going to go around our window a bit. So I'm going to go from my window outwards, pushing pretty hard close to my window and then kind of letting it like fade off a little as we get closer to the edge of the canvas. So a good kind of glow around our window. Then go up to our darker color, 2nd one on the top row, and we'll go underneath our shelf first with this pretty thick size. So just right under our shelf where it would kind of cast a shadow there. Okay, then we're going to lower our size to maybe 5%, and we're going to go right next to our window to add a little shadow there pretty lightly. So if you need to lower the opacity, go ahead and do so as well. Very, very light, very, very small. Doesn't even have to be like the whole way around, just kind of here and there, poke out a little bit of a shadow. And then once that shadow's all done and our background's done, that is it for our drawing today. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out, and I hope that you maybe learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up so that YouTube shows it to more people. It really helps on my channel and helps so that more people can follow along. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any future tutorials from me. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it, so go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching!